Alright, so this is take 2 of this video, second attempt. First attempt didn't really go so well because I kind of just went on, the majority of my spiel was about my past, and this is more of a video about why I'm leaving Gentoo, or kind of like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, I can't think of the word I'm looking for. I'm sorry. A warning. It's not a warning because it's not like dangerous. It's not it's not threatening. But like it's kind of the prelude, I guess. I don't know. If you catch me looking up, I'm looking at OBS. That's just where OBS is. I mean, I could just drag it down and have it in my main screen, but I plan on actually kind of going in and well, I at least want to show this part for those who have caught my streams. First off, if you're new watching this, I'm kind of planning on being this more of like a informational video rather than like a Helldivers or Rocket League or what have you. This is just kind of like a video I just want to make because I am leaving Gentoo. So there's my fast fetch stats. You got Gentoo, oh, Gentoo right there. I use the distribution kernel. I took a lot of the easy ways, and I'll go into a little bit more detail of that. But first, I would like to say hello. My name is Cruel X Brute, if you want to be exact, but Cruel Brute. I don't care what you call me. Jake is more likely what you've heard me referred to from my wife. This is my channel. I post a lot of Helldive. Well, I don't even post a lot. I have a decent amount of skate videos that I've recorded during my time when I was still using Windows. I kind of use Windows now as like a dual boot. That's what I have as my backup because my actual backup is Dev1 Linux. It's just a systemd-less Debian for my laptop here with a RTX 3060 mobile, just to kind of, in case I want to take it on the go. I wanted a Linux system, and it felt right doing something that I didn't have to update every week. I talk a lot about like systems, at least not, I guess I won't say a lot. I mention it a lot, but I don't go into much detail, and this is going to be kind of out of my comfort zone in terms of like detailing and go over information. But I wanted to make this video because I am making the decision to stop using Gentoo, at least for the time being, and move on to a different Linux system. I'm going with MX Linux, mainly because, as you might have already caught, I have an ARC B580 graphics card, and while the 6.12 kernel is able to recognize the ARC cards, I've learned that newer kernels are typically better. I don't know. Systemd got a lot of bad rep because of the age verification stuff. It's kind of fallen out of the grace of the community because they're taking some less open source minded approaches to things. So I have stuck with OpenRC. That's why I went Dev1. I've stuck with OpenRC this entire time as my init system, but MX Linux, specifically the AHS, the Advanced Hardware something version that I got here, comes with sysv init as the init system, and it does specifically that AHS version of MX Linux comes with, I think, 7.0 kernel. It comes out with a more modern kernel, which is going to be needed for my graphics card, which is probably the most important thing to my system because I don't do a whole lot of actual work with my system. I don't do like, I render videos. I try to, at least. I have gone into the whole thing with Unreal Engine and making games. I have tried to make a game before. Haven't finished it because I got stuck and I just kind of stopped. I'd love to get the motivation to pick it back up. Video games and here recently computers have had a very close place in my heart, whether it be just from things I've dealt with growing up to just life in general hitting me hard. I mean, I'm 27 years old as of this past July, and I have a almost 4-year-old kid. So, you know, but again, regardless, this video is my kind of uh, prelude. I don't know. Um, so I to give as brief of a background because I'm not going to go into depth as much as I did before. I was a Windows user for most of my life. Um, Even back when I was a kid and I had the limited access to computers because we didn't really hold down a computer at home. We did have one from time to time, but it always seemed like something went wrong with it eventually. And then my grandparents always had a computer because my uncle would always build them a computer, and that's just where I frequented the most when it came to my computers. So, um, I had some usage with computers in the past. I was really into video games, and come 20, think it was 2018. I could probably go back in my pictures and look, but come 2018, I saved up a little bit of money. I had already been working for a couple years at that point, and I went ahead and just I bought PC Builder Simulator on Steam. Played it for, I'm not even kidding, it was like 7 minutes that was left on my Steam record at the time because I've actually played it more since then. But I played it for 7 minutes, thought that was good enough, and I went ahead and started putting together a computer. Um, it was kind of, I don't want to sound like a complete nerd, I guess, so I'm kind of reluctant to say it, but it was kind of life changing almost. After getting into computers, it changed how I thought about a lot of things. Even like thinking about like cars or thinking about how most things just go together and work. It kind of changed how I thought about it. It didn't teach me how those things worked, but it changes how I think about things. So it was life changing, and I still use Windows up until December of 2025. I decided to make a switch full time to Linux. Now, I had a little bit of work with Linux because of some schooling I did back in the day, but that was just very, very bare minimum at the time. Then I did it just to kind of study a little bit. There was an opportunity for me to get a Linux certification. I I did not, because at the time it didn't really bother me. I have two certifications under my belt. One specifically with Microsoft, and then another one's a server certification. But with Linux, it was kind of intimidating, I guess is a better way of putting it. It didn't really hit me that I wanted to like try it at the time. But as time went on and come towards the end of 2025, I started seeing videos pop up that actually really interested me, showing off essentially that Linux as a system is usable for a person like me. Now, I'm not a Windows power user. I don't have I don't even have a NAS. I don't have any kind of backups. I don't run any kind of background services. I would typically just play games. And back when I was using Windows more, like, especially in the beginning, I might try to stream or like I would watch videos while I'm playing games. That's why I have two monitors. It was always kind of like a thing where I didn't have a reason to become a super crazy, I need this, or that. I just need my games to work, essentially. Everything else I can run through a browser. That's how I always thought about it. But I finally bit the bullet. Finally, I used Ubuntu back in my schooling, and then ended up going back to Ubuntu just for ease of me remembering all the things, going through all of my ways beforehand. So that was just the one I stuck with. Then at the time, it was April, end of March, beginning of April time. I started to get a little bored with Ubuntu just because it is kind of like the cliche newbie type of Linux, and I wanted more of a challenge. I saw people posting about Arch. I watched the PewDiePie video, God knows how many times. Um, I people still I watch videos online where people are talking about how Arch is their was or is their distribution of choice, but as kind of where I'm going to be getting to with Gentoo, it became a little bit too much for them to run like consistently as an everyday system. And again, I completely understand that. And I will get to that here in a little bit because I don't want to make this too long. Um, I took a lot of shortcuts. I did not write my own kernel. I didn't go into detail with all that. I just wanted something quick and easy because I essentially didn't have a computer at the time of me trying to install Gentoo. I saw a lot more people taking these specific like okay, I'm installing Gentoo, but it's going to be a server and it's going to do this for me and it's going to do that for me, or I'm needing it for this, so I'm making a video about it. That wasn't what I wanted and it ended up screwing me in the end. Since Gentoo is so customizable too, not everyone's going to install it the way you want it. I knew I wanted OpenRC because I did my research, and yes, I know you can install systemd on Gentoo, and that was the plan going into it. But I did my research, and when I say research, I mean Google. I did read forums. Do not get me wrong. I read forums. I read how people see how the community reacted to it, and following YouTube videos to install Gentoo is not suggested. I tried it, failed horribly. I even tried another one afterwards as like a backup source of knowledge, and it still ended up failing. It took me like 5 days, I think, to install Gentoo, just being able to boot into a system without the USB. And that's why I did take my shortcuts with it, because I was 5 days without a computer, essentially. I'd already wiped my Ubuntu. I had Windows as like a backup still at that time, which I ended up breaking my Windows install on that final attempt of Gentoo. And it was kind of a final attempt because I was kind of giving up on it. But regardless, what it took was I sat down and I just read their webpage manual. I read what they had released. I only paid attention to that. A lot of my issues there in the middle, because in the beginning it was beginner mistakes. I was watching those YouTube videos, but when I started to read the manual and actually get into like the meat and potatoes, so to speak, I was still using I want to say I was using like, I don't want to say CF disk. I was using some other disk partitioning command that wasn't actually assigning the boot drive, EFI, and so on and so forth, the swap memory. It was creating those partitions, and then it wasn't assigning it to anything actually. So following the actual manual, it had me use fdisk if I'm not mistaken. And that actually let me map things right, and that's what ended up actually working for me. But even during the install, I did have issues with compiling the kernel, getting everything to download correctly. There was a lot of issues. Some of that was the USB drive, because I had to switch it to DD mode off of Rufus to get it to set up as a proper drive, change things in my BIOS. Once I got it installed, it took me another 3 days to get my actual desktop environment installed, which I did go with KDE Plasma. And it was so rewarding to get it done. But once it was done, it was just kind of like, oh, because because I didn't have a desktop environment. I was in what's it called? I don't want to call it a shell. I'll call it the shell. Um, I only had the command line interface. And then once I installed the desktop environment, I didn't even have a terminal. I didn't have anything. So I had to go back in and boot into the command line interface on purpose and then install a terminal, and then I went back and did all that. So it I had a lot of issues getting to a certain point. I then had more issues later on. I even went to the Gentoo forums, and shout out to those guys. If you have any issues, go to them. Just expose yourself. I was straight up with them, told them how I was essentially new to this whole biz, and they laid it out for me, pointed at all my mistakes I made, and mistakes will happen. That's just the process of it. And they helped me fix it. They helped me fix my system. But now, this is kind of what started to break the back, was my updates. I don't install a whole lot. I think what kind of screwed me up this time was I tried setting up a PlayStation 1-esque emulator through Wine so I could try to play Twisted Metal 1 on the emulator, because I just installed one of my wife's favorite SpongeBob games from her childhood on her Linux system. But I installed a SpongeBob game on her system, and I saw how easy it was to do on her system, and then I tried mine, and it's not the same. I can get it to boot. I got it to boot, but I can't get it to fit my screen resolution. It doesn't even sit right, and plus it's too big. So I tried to go or find ways around it, and I kind of just gave up on it. But now, last night before bed, I get done playing. I don't even actually know if I played any games, but I sat at my computer for a second, just kind of rubbing my eyes, thinking about playing a game. I get ready for bed, get ready for work in the morning, and I try to run an update because I was leaving my computer on overnight to charge my wife's headset, and it failed. It currently is telling me that I have I want to say it's a masked package, and it's masked because something else is affecting it, and I can't really, I don't know. But the fact that I have to now delve into my system, go back through everything I've done within the last week to 2 weeks, and remove something that I installed so I can actually play a different game is kind of irritating. And yes, I know I could probably run into that on other Linux distros. I might even run into that on this MX Linux drive or install that I have on this USB drive. But the fact that it's been so consistent, it feels like I can't even use my computer the way I need to. And like, this is a rolling distribution. I know I can get away without updating the system for quite some time, but I'm supposed to update the system for security reasons, for security risks, for just in general improvement in my ARC graphics card, which relies on kernel updates to actually run properly. And that's kind of what's breaking the camel's back here. It's kind of becoming more daunting to use my computer than enjoyable. And that's not what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a piece of enjoyment after working all day. This is supposed to be kind of my little gateway to enjoyment when I have the downtime, and just I guess the time for games in general, because downtime doesn't always mean games. It can also mean time with family. So having to deal with a system that won't update, a system that wants to fight back all the time, it's just not fun. So this is my warning to anyone who may not have the most experience with Linux, me only having about 8 months or so with it, like, consistently. If you want to install Gentoo, do it. It's fun. It's actually really fun to mess with. It's really cool to have that experience. But for those of you who don't necessarily want to go into that much detail, stick with your Linux mints. I wouldn't even try Arch. If you're considering Arch and you won't consider Gentoo, think about the reasons why. Look at the actual reasons why. If you have a lesser powered computer and building everything from source is going to be too much, I get that. For me, I mean, the longest updates, the updates when I was installing things in the beginning and getting everything right, when I'm installing 250 packages at a time, that can take a while. But you know what? A big install is going to take a long time anyway, regardless of the system. If you're considering Arch, consider Gentoo. Look into it at least. There's a lot of fun things with it. Um, if you're going to install Gentoo, don't go on YouTube. Just read the manual. As everyone will always say in this industry, read the effing manual. It's literally a thing. But with this specifically coming from, again, someone without the knowledge that I needed for this, the manual is where you're going to get at least set up right. If you do have the time, there's a lot of Gentoo forums. One of the guys actually on my question I posted linked to a lot of stuff that he's written within their database, and there's a lot of information there. So kind of dive into it a little bit. Go on their website, read some of the things, let them explain it to you, because these people are people who have been using Gentoo since the 2000s, when it probably first even was getting real development. So just take the time, actually get into it, and I'm sure you'll be a lot better placed than I was. Me, myself, I just don't feel like I have the time. I could dedicate the time if I really, really wanted to. I mean, I dedicate the time for something like this even, but it's just kind of out of my realm, I think. Again, I know I can do it. I want to be able to use my system. I want to be able to just I like the APT package manager. It's apt. It's just what I've started learning from, and honestly, if Debian's or Dev1, either one, if they had an actual rolling release that didn't, from what I've read, it conflicts with a lot of its own internal processes, because again, Debian itself is built for a long-term system itself. It's more LTS, but if they had a rolling release, I'd probably go with them, because I do enjoy just the base Debian, Dev1. I enjoy them both. But MX Linux uses APT. The specific version I'm using has the kernel I need, and it also comes with its own little features that I'm going to just mess with and see if I enjoy. If I don't enjoy it, you know what? I'm leaving my distribution anyways. I'll bounce around if I have to. I don't see a reason why I would need to stay, because if I needed to stay, this would be it, and I'm not. So that's pretty much the gist of it. I'm already going on 26 minutes. It's probably going to get cut down at least a little bit. I'll probably cut out some of my pauses or whatever, but regardless, I really hope you enjoyed. I really hope that, again, I didn't dissuade you too much from wanting to use this system, because this has been a really good system to me. I've had a lot of good things happen with this system. The enjoyment I got from actually installing this and getting it to work is probably bar none when it comes to actually building a computer. It's up there even with like making your first computer, building your first computer, plugging it in. You leave the side panels off, of course, until it works. So you're just sitting there crossing your fingers and hoping to God that it just powers on, it does its power cycle, and then you get that little BIOS flash. It's on par, if not a little bit better than that. So give it a try. If you even have any time to mess with it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, and hopefully I'll see you again here soon.